friends, and welcome to my channel if you're new, or welcome back if you're back. Either way, thank you so much for clicking on my video today. My name is Rabbit and my pronouns are they, them, and today's video was honestly like a little bit... I wanted originally to just do a video that was showing how I DIY'd this jewelry box that I got from the thrift store. Sneak peek. I don't know, I really love how it turned out. I think it's super cute. I got some of my favorite spooky ladies on it and stuff. However, okay, I had some problems with my memory card, and basically all the footage of me painting it black and putting these 4 pictures on got corrupted, so I didn't have it, and I didn't really want to give you guys a really half, you know, whatever tutorial. So what I decided to do was I still filmed the rest of the decoration of this as kind of, because that's what I wanted to do in the first place, but I also decided to just add in an extra other project that shows kind of the same technique. So if you do just want to see the beginning to end of one thing, you can just watch this guy, and then if you want to watch till the end, you can see how I also did the jewelry box. But I guess we can start with this guy. I'll just talk about them maybe really quickly first. Okay, so this kind of bat hanging with Miss Argentina from Beetlejuice, one of my favorite freaking characters. This was actually inspired by when I was a kid. When I was a teenager, I was into a lot of online blogs. I feel like blogs aren't that much of a thing anymore. One of the ones that I liked a lot was called Mookie Chick, and they're still up, and they had this DIY of basically how to revamp an old record that you don't listen to anymore. And since I used to live above a record store, I'd been meaning to do this forever, but I ended up being wait, don't I have that old wood thing? Because I got this at Dollarama last year for $3, and I hadn't painted it yet, and since with a record I wouldn't have to paint it, I figured I'd just show you guys how to do the same thing on this one. So I'll still link the Mookie Chick tutorial because that's what this was inspired by, and I've honestly wanted to do something like the Beetlejuice record they showed since I was 14 and saw that tutorial, so I'll definitely be linking that up there, or show a picture beside or whatever, and then I'll go into the tutorial of how I made this one. You can obviously skip to all the timestamps if you're just interested in that, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I still want to do a record one, but when I told Kate, she was like, okay, but we have to listen to the whole record before you paint it because that's the last time we're gonna get to listen to it. And I had to listen to so much freaking Christian children's music for that because I was like, let's just do this one, it's fine, it's Christian children's, we won't care. And he just listened to the entire thing, and I was ready to rip my hair out. But regardless, that'll come eventually. I just wasn't in the state to do a DIY after that whole thing. So I just did this one in the meantime instead, and keep watching and you'll be able to see that. And then really quick, I will talk about the jewelry box. I am so pleased with how this turned out. It's a lot simpler than most of my furniture customs. I don't know, I think I might do the pastel furniture. I'll post that before this one. We'll see, because I kind of made them around the same time. But it's much more simple than what I'm used to in terms of little DIY custom accessory boxes, stuff like that. But basically, I was originally gonna make it pink, but because the inside was lined with red velvet, I figured it would look really cool and vampire-y if I made it black. And I'd wanted to do something with my favorite spooky ladies on it for quite a long time. So we've got Elvira, Elaine from The Love Witch, Lydia from Beetlejuice, Morticia from the Addams Family, and Emily the Strange with, not sure which one of her 4 cats this is. Nietzsche, maybe? Either way. And it's got black and white stripes on this kind of little holder thingy between, and then black and white stripes on the side, some little spikies, and a little hand-painted spider web, and this little bat charm. And I did also repaint the handles. But yeah, like I said, this video won't include the painting of this or the first 4 pictures, but I will show how I got this picture on because yeah, my freaking thing died, and it's so sad because I wanted to show you guys, but I still have a before picture of this, so I'll be able to show a side-by-side comparison. But regardless, if you're interested in how I made these guys, please feel free to keep watching, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. Alright, so to start, I'm cutting off the original string that came on the sign and taking some black acrylic paint and just using a paintbrush from Michael's or whatever to put down a big thick layer all over the sign. And this one came with no finish on it, like sanded and everything, and oh my gosh, the paint sticks so much better when you do that, or like when it comes like that, because yeah, I'm always too lazy to sand things, and I just kind of touch them up, and I'm okay with that, like replacing any missing chips if they do when it happens. But man, if you sand it, it's much easier. Anyway, regardless, going in with another layer of black paint once it's dry. I just wanted the color to be a little deeper and to have it just be a little more protected. I don't know, I always like to do 2 layers of paint regardless. And then I set that aside to dry, and in the meantime, I had these pictures that Cage helped me print out that I found on Google Images. The top one is just the Beetlejuice logo. I'm using some scissors to cut it out, kind of roughly, and then later I go in with some like sewing scissors, or maybe they're nail scissors, I'm not really sure, but either way they're very small scissors, and I use them to kind of get really close and detailed on all the tiny little pieces of like kind of the gravestone details or whatever. Continue to trim it until I'm completely happy with it, and then I take this doily that I found at the dollar store years ago and lay over a piece of like baking paper or parchment paper on it and use a Sharpie to trace out the center, basically the part where I want my picture to go. Once I've traced out the pattern that I like, I just use some scissors to cut that out, and to make sure that it's like nice and symmetrical, I just fold it in half a couple of times and then trim the edges when it's folded together. That way everything's like smooth and even and nicely proportioned, because yeah, cutting circles can be annoying. Regardless, I unfold it, measure it, make sure that it looks good, I'm happy with it. So then I take my picture, place the parchment paper over that, and use a pencil to trace out a pattern that I want to cut, and then I use some scissors to cut that out. And this picture I just found on Google Images and then put in like black and white, like used a filter on it, and I didn't like edit any of the contrast or anything, but I kind of wish I did because it's not as like sharp as I would have liked it to be. So if you're thinking of doing a similar thing and making a black and white image, I would recommend like looking into that. Anyway, once the bat sign is dry, I can start laying down the tape to make the stripes. I'm just using this painter's tape. You can get it at the dollar store, craft store, hardware store, whatever, and I'm too lazy to measure it properly. So the way that I make sure that it's like kind of evenly spaced out is I kind of put the tape next to another piece of tape and then put the next piece right next to that. That way it's kind of evenly spaced in the stripes. If you're really worried about the measuring though, or the evenness, definitely don't be afraid to use a measuring tape. I just do not have the patience. Anyway, once all my stripes are laid out, I fold over everything on the back, and it's very important that you have like kind of a nice tight seal, because if you don't, you get these kind of annoying paint bubbles, which like are fine to clean up, but the less you have to clean up, the better, is it not, right? Yeah. Anyway, then I go ahead and go in with some dollar store paint in white, and just go ahead and, you know, you can be really messy, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you cover all the surfaces that are not taped up, and once it's dry, I go ahead with a second layer, and it's just like so satisfying to see the painting, and like, I don't know, when you can be messy and it doesn't really matter the precision, and then it's so much even more satisfying when you get to tear off the tape. It's like one of my favorite parts of using stencils, when you get to like peel it off, and it works really well. So yeah, I'm using some tweezers when I do have trouble with it, but I managed to get all the pieces of tape off, and I'm pretty happy with the stripes, but there are a couple of spots that are just like a smidge messy, so I take like a little precision brush to just touch up all the little spots that I would like to fix up. And I'm happy with that, so then I go ahead and take my Beetlejuice cutout printer paper thingy, and use some Mod Podge or liquid glue or whatever you have on hand, and a paintbrush to get it sticky, and then I go ahead and center it in the sign and lay it kind of flat, smooth out the air bubbles, and to give it kind of a protective layer or something, I don't know, I'm just going with a layer of Mod Podge over top as well. Just find it's helpful to kind of seal it in and protect it. Then I just place my doily in the kind of bottom center of the bat, make sure I kind of like the position, and then I put a bunch of glue on it, and this was very thin, like the doily was very thin, so if you're using thin paper, don't put the glue directly on that because it will tear. I would recommend putting it on whatever surface that you're attaching it to. I wish I had done that because you can see there's like a lot of air bubbles and crinkles, and it was, I mean, like I managed to mostly smooth it out, but I wish I had kind of thought it through beforehand. Regardless, I put another layer of Mod Podge over like kind of the lacy bits on top to make sure they're protected, and then go ahead over top of Miss Argentina's picture, position it in the center, and I like how it looks. And of course you gotta put a protective layer on that, so make sure to do that as well. And gosh, I love little background characters that are like pretty ladies with like sparkly costumes. Like I love like Little Nell's character in Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I love Miss Argentina in Beetlejuice. Just these kind of characters, I love them. Anyway, okay, regardless, I'm going ahead and trimming the doily with some scissors and my like very small precision scissors as well. Could have left it round, that might have been a cool look as well, but I didn't really think of it till after, and it's fine this way. And yeah, then since it is a sign, I wanted to replace the chain that was hanging, or with an actual chain, like, you know. So I'm taking this one that's just like a little piece of chain from jewelry and a jump ring, using some pliers to attach that, and it's done. I'm very happy with the final outcome, and I put it near the Halloween display, and I think it looks really cute. Okay, I don't know what happened, but somehow all the video I just took of the painting and the gluing and everything I've done so far got deleted. My memory card was corrupted. I don't know what happened. So regardless, what I've done so far on this box, because I guess we'll just go from here, is a brown box. I've painted it black so far, and I printed out some pictures of some spooky ladies. I used parchment paper to make a pattern of the shape that I wanted, and then I superimposed the pattern over the pictures, and I like to use parchment paper so it's see-through, so you can kind of see, like, you can center your photo where you're going to print it out. And all I've done so far is, yeah, paint it. I vacuumed out the inside. I've Mod Podged all these pictures down into these kind of divots, and I just have one picture left to Mod Podge, so I'll show you how I do that, and we'll get into the rest of the modification. But man, I'm like so upset. I was really excited for this tutorial, and I'm so mad that a big chunk of it just got deleted. But yeah, you didn't miss much. It was just painting and gluing. So on to the next gluing, and you can get an idea of how I do it. So to Mod Podge this little Emily the Strange printout onto this backing, I'm not really sure what this part of the jewelry box is called, but regardless, I just put a bunch of Mod Podge on both sides, and then this makes it kind of slippery, so it does kind of slide around. I would probably recommend just putting it on one side, basically on the surface, not on the paper. Once I'm satisfied with the position, I just use my brush to go over it with a nice layer of Mod Podge to give it that nice little protection, I guess. I also use my finger to kind of smooth out the paintbrush streaks, because you could kind of see it look a little bit messy, and my finger kind of helped fix that a little bit. But yeah, pretty happy with that. Put it there to dry. Then I'm taking some green tape, like painter's tape, that I've cut in half because it was a pretty thick roll. I'm just applying it down the sides of the jewelry box. I'm also covering the base with a piece of tape so I don't get any white paint on that when I'm making my stripes, and doing the same to the top, making sure that I'm kind of preventing air bubbles from being in there. And then I go ahead with my white paint and just kind of do a little messy blob in each spot. I'll do another layer so it doesn't really matter what it looks like in the first layer. Same thing on the other side, cover it with tape and, you know, put on the white paint. Again, I'm just using like dollar store acrylic paint, and once it's dry and the two layers are done, I can peel it off. This is always so satisfying. Frick, I love this part so much, you guys. Ugh. If you get the chance to do this, I highly recommend it. Anyway, as you can see, some spots were not super airtight, and they did leak a little bit of white paint, and I will just go back and touch that up with black paint and white paint and whatever else is needed. But I'm pretty happy with how clean the stripes look. I'm not like super stickler for detail in terms of, or like precision, so it doesn't bother me that much. But as you can see, I'm just going in with my black paint and fixing up the parts that are really obvious and need that extra help. I'm using like a really small detail brush. I think I just got this one at Michael's. But yeah, you can also use makeup brushes for this kind of thing. I find that helpful. Just make sure you clean them really well after. Alright, and then it's time to paint the handle. So to protect the base of the jewelry box, I've just put a little bit of green tape down. And then I'm going in with some silver paint. Got this ages ago, I don't remember from where. Probably going to do 2 layers, but I'm using just like a really small detail brush to go in and paint the handle, so they're like this really pretty shiny silver that I associate with vampires and I don't know, that kind of thing. So once it's dry, I go in for a second layer to make sure it's like super nice and shiny, and I'm not super concerned about accidentally getting silver paint on the black area, because I can just go ahead in with the black paint again. As you can see, I'm also just doing that layer to make sure it's all even and opaque. So then I'm taking these rings that I got from the dollar store, they're just like plastic Halloween rings, and I'm spraying them with some Mr. Super Clear outside. And then as you can see, I'm not using the plastic spiders in this, but whatever, just ignore those. I'm using my silver paint on the bat ring and then using a tissue to kind of clean it off so it kind of just is a little more rustic looking. And then to make sure that it pops even more, I go in with my really small detail brush and just highlight the really high points with the silver paint so it looks really nice and shiny. So I do that on like the ears and like the webs and the little feet. And once I'm happy with it and it's dry, I can cut the part that makes it a ring off. And I take the jewelry drawer and my ring piece and hot glue a little blob of hot glue on it and then just kind of hold it in place. And I'm pretty happy with the positioning and stuff, so that will do. I decided to add just like a little detail with like these spider webs in the corner. I thought it'd be pretty to have these little silver spider webs. I'm using a tiny paintbrush to do it, but it probably would have also worked with like a gel pen or a marker or something like that, and I would have had a little more control. But honestly, the thing that's great about spider webs is they don't have to be super precise to look good. So highly recommend using spider webs as a design element for that reason. Just going over another layer to make sure it's nice and even looking. Now that everything's dry, put it together, and I decided to add some little screw-on studs as like a little, I originally was going to use them as ring holders, but I think they might be a little too delicate for that, so they're just kind of a little bit of extra decoration on that. So I screw the back onto each of the studs and then glue it down. The reason I screw the back on is just to give it that little bit of extra lift. I think it adds like a nice little element. I don't know, it makes it feel extra vampire-y because the spikes remind me of fangs, kind of. Then I'm going in with some white paint, and I have used some green painter's tape to create some stripes, and then I use my white paint, probably from the dollar store, I don't really remember though, to fill in the spots in between. Once it's dry, do a second layer, of course, and once that second layer has dried, I can peel it off. And I decided to just kind of do the one side of it because the back is always facing the wall and I was feeling lazy, so whatever, it's fine. But yeah, and then also I guess it's reversible if I ever did want to change the other part of it, but regardless, set it aside to dry. Once it's dry, peel all the tape off. Super satisfying as always. Love, love, love the feeling of this. Feels so clean. I love stripes as a design element. I just think, I don't know, they feel like Beetlejuice-y, they feel vintagey, they feel, I don't know, they're just a good element. And oh yeah, I tried for a minute to put these little Mod Podge ghosties on, but I think it like took it too cutesy and I liked this being a little more like serious of a look, so I ended up picking those off, but I figured I'd show you what it looked like with the little ghosties, even though they were scrapped in the final but yeah, I'm really happy with it. It works really well, and that's what it looks like. Alright, so that's all I got for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this little kind of tutorial video kind of situation thing. If you end up DIYing any of your own stuff, I would love to see it. It totally doesn't have to be like a sign or a jewelry box. You can like DIY a shelf, you can DIY like a plastic box, you could DIY a tea box, you could DIY a cardboard box, just a piece of paper, whatever you want to do. I would love to see it. Feel free to tag me on Instagram as always. I'm super interested to see that stuff. Otherwise, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I thank you again for watching till the end, and I hope you are having a wonderful day. I'm sending you a big hug, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks again for watching. Bye!